It's Monday, June 2nd, 2025, 9:42 a.m. Eastern Time. Before your first coffee finishes brewing, a brand new McKinsey brief detonates across every Slack channel from Wall Street to Bangalore. The headline is blunt. Generative AI can now automate 60 to 70% of the paid hours soaked up in most service jobs. 5 pillars of white-collar work, data processing, content production, routine analysis, customer service, and administrative support are wobbling in unison. Today, we're going to walk straight into that office tower, point to the cracks in every load-bearing column, and ask what happens when the upper floors start falling away. 10 to 12 minutes from now, you'll know whether you're standing on a safe mezzanine or sprinting for the fire stairs. Picture the slide you've seen 1,000 times in think tank decks. 5 neat rectangles, each with a friendly icon and a list of familiar job titles underneath. What those rectangles actually mark is the overlap between two forces, language and routine. Wherever work is mostly words plus rules, invoice data, social media copy, quarterly earnings decks, password reset calls, calendar invites, large language model agents can now perform it at industrial scale. In the next few minutes, we'll dissect each pillar, look at the data, and zero in on the personal exit ramps that keep you from being flattened under falling concrete. Let's start with the work nobody brags about at parties: typing figures from a PDF into a ledger, reconciling line items, shuffling purchase orders. In the 2010s, robotic process automation shaved some edges off that toil. But the real inflection came when foundation models learned to read tables, generate SQL, and auto-populate ERP fields. The World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs report pegs data entry clerks, bookkeepers, and document processors as the single fastest shrinking occupational block through 2027. Intuit's own 2024 survey of small business customers found 98% of U.S. bookkeepers already plugging AI tools into their QuickBooks workflows. The old defense, "my boss still wants a human to double-check," is evaporating because the checker is now another AI running audit rules at 4 a.m. The humans who remain do exception handling and narrative, turning raw reconciliations into a story the CFO can digest. If your current value proposition is keystrokes per hour, the ground beneath you is already gone. Swing the camera to the creative department. You walk past rows of empty desks where junior copywriters used to fuss over taglines. Their replacements are prompt engineers feeding brand guidelines into a fine-tuned language model. In London, freelance writer Annabelle Beals told The Guardian she lost 3 contracts in a week when her agency began using ChatGPT for first drafts. Goldman Sachs calculates that 300 million positions worldwide, many of them entry-level media and marketing gigs, are exposed to generative AI displacement. It's not just blogs and banner ads. Radio hosts are reading AI-generated scripts between songs. Local TV stations in the Midwest are quietly rolling AI anchors during low-rating slots. A-tier creatives are safe for now because clients still crave voice, vision, and novelty. B-tier writers are discovering they've been downgraded from talent to editing service. If you produce prose that's merely serviceable, you're one prompt away from irrelevance. The life raft is specialization. Become the guardian of a brand's tone, the fact-checker who injects credibility, or the strategist who turns half-finished drafts into campaigns that move revenue. Now we step onto the research floor, where rookie analysts once spent nights crunching CSVS to earn their stripes. UBS uses internal GPT-4 agents to crank out first-pass equity research, while IBM pilots Auto Insights to summarize telemetry from hundreds of data centers. Academic benchmarks show language models already matching junior humans on many forecasting tasks. In practical terms, that means an algorithm now handles the dirty work of parsing 10Ks, spotting quarter-over-quarter anomalies, and drafting the first 8 pages of your market segmentation deck. The knowledge apprenticeships that form the on-ramp to finance and consulting are collapsing. Without that grunt work, new grads never acquire the intuition seniors rely on, and firms start asking whether they need as many seniors in the first place. To stay relevant, you'll need to pivot up the abstraction ladder, designing experiments, interrogating model bias, advising clients on which insights matter, and why they should trust them. Anything less, and your Bloomberg terminal login could be deactivated before lunch. Slide down the elevator shaft to customer service. 10 years ago, companies shipped these jobs offshore. Today, they're shipping them to the cloud. A Stanford MIT field study of more than 5,000 contact center agents showed a 15% productivity bump when workers used an AI copilot. That was the warm-up. Gartner now projects that by 2027, 40% of customer care tickets will close with zero human touch. Telstra, Australia's largest telecom, has already announced up to 2,800 layoffs tied directly to conversational bots. Management loves the math. Large language models never call in sick/average handle time and boost customer satisfaction scores by remembering everything a caller has ever said. For humans, the safe zone is thin. Crisis escalation, complex troubleshooting, empathy-heavy negotiations like retention saves. If your day revolves around scripted password resets, you're functionally obsolete. Train instead for supervisory roles, designing flows, labeling edge case conversations, or managing quality assurance for the bots that replaced you. Finally, we enter the cubicles of executive assistants, schedulers, and file clerks. Retool's Agents platform lets any mid-sized firm spin up a bespoke calendar bot for $3 an hour. A single bot can juggle 100 calendars, book travel, and pre-fill expense reports. Microsoft's latest Copilot update adds meeting minute generation, follow-up email drafts, and action item tracking across Teams, Outlook, and Planner. Accenture estimates that 40% of all working hours globally, much of it coordination overhead, sits squarely in AI's crosshairs. As scheduling, filing, and travel logistics vaporize, what remains is stakeholder management, reading interpersonal nuance, shielding executives from information overload, and negotiating priorities between departments. In other words, emotional intelligence. The day-to-day click work is gone. The relationship work ascends in value. Overlay McKinsey's 60 to 70% automatable hours curve on these 5 job families, and a sobering forecast emerges. 40 to 60% of positions tied to language routine tasks could morph or disappear inside 7 years. That window is about the length of a typical car loan. If you're halfway through paying off a sedan on the back of a data entry salary, you should run the numbers again. For employers, the pivot isn't optional. A competitor willing to redeploy savings from automation into R&D or price cuts can outgun you in any market. The question shifts from, can we automate, to can we survive if we don't? There is upside. Goldman Sachs models suggest generative AI could juice global GDP by $7 trillion and lift productivity 1.5 percentage points annually. History says new tech eventually spawns new roles. Think social media manager or app store curator, but timing matters. If the job losses front load and the gains backload, whole cohorts get marooned. Every payroll dollar shaved is a consumer dollar erased unless the windfall recirculates as wages, dividends, or cheaper goods. For policymakers, the trade-off is brutal. Regulate tightly, slow the disruption, risk losing the global tech arms race. Deregulate, reap efficiency. Risk a labor market whiplash that erodes social stability. The balance sheet of nations now hinges on how quickly they can reskill millions who never asked to become prompt engineers. Automation speed doubles as a strategic weapon. The United States leads in venture capital and frontier model compute, but China counters with centralized industrial policy and sheer data volume. Washington's export bans throttle Beijing's access to cutting-edge GPUs, while Beijing pumps billions into homegrown silicon. If one side nails mass reskilling while the other stumbles, the advantage compounds. Economists estimate that a single percentage point gap in productivity growth, sustained over a decade, can swing the balance of global GDP by trillions. In such a race, a nation that cushions displaced workers with aggressive upskilling and safety nets not only preserves social cohesion, it preserves geopolitical leverage. So what now? First, skill stack. Don't skill swap. Adding prompt engineering to your existing domain knowledge creates a moat, and AI alone can't cross. Second, audit your task mix. Make a brutal list of everything you do in a week. Mark anything repeatable, text-based, or numerical in red. Those are the pieces to automate before someone automates you. Third, own a slice of the upside. Push for equity, revenue share, or profit pool schemes tied to AI productivity. Think Alaska's oil fund model, but for algorithms. Fourth, foster human moats. Negotiation, cross-discipline synthesis, storytelling, trust. Even GPT-8 will struggle to fake the nuances of boardroom politics or the gut-level instinct that tells a product manager when to pivot. Finally, write your own narrative. Careers are stories we tell employers about our future value. Refine yours so it stars you as the human who wields AI like a power tool, not the Luddite barricading the factory gate. The slide you glanced at over morning coffee isn't futurist art. It's an architect's stress diagram showing 5 pillars cracking under identical seismic stress. Ignore the tremors and you risk freefall. Brace and retool and you might rocket upward on the shockwave. The tower is shaking. Elevators are out. Choose your stairwell wisely and start moving now before the next floor gives way.